Okay, this is the demo video for 5 homework 2, and we're going to continue solving inequalities, but this time we're going to solve by multiplication and division. So here I have x is being divided by 6 is less than 11, so since x is being divided by 6, I want to multiply each side times 6. These 6's cancel. It actually becomes 6x over 6, and 6 over 6 is 1, or 1x, which is just x. Or you can just remember that when you multiply by the denominator here, you're canceling these out. And 11 times 6 is 66. So x is less than 66. And when I graph this, the number is 66. The circle is open because there's no or equal to. And if you'll recall from the previous demo video, whenever I write the inequality with the variable to the left, whichever way my arrow in the inequality symbol faces is the same way the arrow here faces. So if you recall, just write them with the variable first, and you should be good to go with your graph. Okay, so here we have negative 2 over 5, x less than 12, and I'm going to solve using multiplication. But if you recall when I started teaching you how to solve inequalities, I told you basically treat the inequality symbol like it's an equal sign for the purpose of solving. I said, however, there would be a slight change, and I told you I would explain that when we get here. And here's the change. Whenever I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative number to solve, when I multiply or divide by a negative number to solve, I have to flip the inequality symbol. Let me demonstrate. Here I have negative 2 over 5 times x. Now, there's two ways of solving this. I could solve by division because the negative 2 over 5 is being multiplied by x. But I can also solve with multiplication, and basically you're doing the same thing because whenever I work with fractions and I divide fractions, when you divide fractions, the rules say that it's keep, switch, flip. If you recall this, if I have 5 over 2 times, or divided by rather, 1/3. The way I actually do the division here is I keep the first fraction, which is 5 over 2. I switch the division symbol to multiplication, and then I flip the last fraction, and I'm multiplying. Top times top, bottom times bottom. So it's going to be the same thing here. Either way I do it. I have negative 2 over 5 times x, so I could multiply by negative 5 over 2, the reciprocal. And what I get, if I wanted to go ahead and do this operation, first of all, negative times negative is positive, so it's positive. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10, and of course that's x. And so 10 over 10 is 1, which is just 1x, or simply x. They cancel. And if I divide the left side by negative 5 over 2, if I multiply the left side by negative 5 over 2, I have to multiply the right side by negative 5 over 2 as well. Now you could do this operation in your TI calculator, but I will go ahead and demonstrate how to do this manually. Now remember that I said we have to flip the inequality symbol here because I'm multiplying by a negative number to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm flipping my symbol because I am multiplying by negative 5 over 2 to solve. Now, to multiply the right side, first of all, I have a positive number times a negative number, so my answer is negative because a positive times a negative is negative. 12 times 5 is 60. 1 times 2 is 2. This reduces to x is greater than negative 30. To graph, I'm talking about the number negative 30. I have an open circle to the right. X is greater than. This is pointed to the right. This is pointed to the right. That's how they graph. So remember, whenever you multiply or divide to solve, you have to flip that inequality symbol. Let's solve with division. Here I have 3.2 times x is greater than or equal to 40, so I divide by 3.2 on each side. This cancels or becomes 1, which is x is greater than or equal to, and in my calculator, 40 divided by 3.2 is 12.5. To graph this, talking about the number 12.5, there is an it's a closed circle because of the or equal to. X is greater than goes to the right. X can be any number greater than or equal to 12.5. Let's take a look at this other example. I have negative 10x is greater than or equal to negative 38. I am dividing by a negative number on both sides. These cancel. My inequality symbol flips because I'm dividing by a negative number. And negative 38 divided by negative 10, first of all, my answer is positive. And then if I use my calculator to actually do the calculation of 38 divided by 10, I highly suggest you use your calculator on these calculations, and you get 3.8. And if I graph this number, I'm talking about the number 3.8. I have a closed circle again because I have the or equal to. X is less than goes to the left, and that's how I would graph that solution. And finally, let's talk about translating verbal sentences or actual sentences into algebraic sentences, basically. We're going to convert the following sentence into an inequality, then we're going to solve it, and we're going to look at our graph as well. So 1/3 of a number is at most 12. There's two very important parts here. This word of also is at most. We have to translate those into mathematical language. And the word of always means to multiply. And is at most. Let's kind of take a look at that as we build our inequality. We have 1/3, well, that's 1/3 of a number, and we don't know what that number is, so we're going to call that x. Is at most. Is at most. This is at most. Cannot be any larger than. Is at most translate to less than or equal to. 1/3 of a number is at most, the biggest it'll ever be is 12. Now, if you'll recall in the first homework demo video for Unit 5, I gave you a chart that had how we would actually translate some of these phrases such as is at most and how they would look as an inequality. And I suggested that you put those in your notebook or in your wherever you take notes, so that'll help you out. So now we can solve this. So I have 1/3 times x, so I'm going to solve by multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/3. And as we've seen before, that these cancel out and just becomes x, because 3/1 times 1/3 is 1. Less than or equal to, if I multiply the left side by 3/1 or just 3, then I have to multiply the right side by 3 too. Now I say just 3 because 3/1 is just 3. So, and if I don't have to multiply by a fraction, I'm not going to. It's not necessary here. So 12 times 3 is 36. X is less than or equal to 36. Graphing the solution, I'm talking about the number 36. I have a closed circle. X is less than goes to the left. And so that's the answer, and that's the way that works. And so the most important thing you have to recall whenever you're solving inequalities with multiplication or division, whenever you have to multiply or divide by that negative number, remember to flip the inequality symbol.